Hey guys, it's Skipper Megan. If you are returning, welcome back, and if you are new, then welcome aboard. So this week I'm going to be talking about a couple of ways that you can, well, more than a couple, quite a few ways actually, that you can kind of relax and cool down a little bit when you are in the parks in the summertime. You know, obviously you can go into a restaurant or something like that. Those are obvious ways that you can sit down and relax for a little while. But what if you don't want to completely stop doing things? You know, there's still things that you want to get accomplished. What are some things that are maybe off the beaten path or a little bit different, maybe not like super high thrill, e-ticket kind of things that you are going to want to do, but things that you may otherwise not do if you just completely left to go relax. So I'm going to kind of break it up by park, but first I'm going to mention that there's a couple of things that are quite obvious as far as relaxing things. Those being any theater show, basically, where you can sit down in a chair and view a show, whether it is live action, entertainers, or if it is on a screen, that's always going to be air conditioned and comfortable, and you're going to be able to relax while still doing something. So those are obviously going to be a good choice no matter where you are, and I will tell you in each park which ones are available there. And the other thing is a couple of slow moving rides. Not necessarily just slow moving, but rides that also typically do not have a very long wait. So things that you're going to be able to get on that are not going to be super thrilling, not going to have a long wait, and things that you can just kind of sit back, chill, and relax a little bit on. So I'm going to start off with everyone's favorite, the Magic Kingdom, and what can you do in the Magic Kingdom to stay a little bit cool or relax in the hottest, most stressful parts of the day. So the theater shows that I would recommend going to at the Magic Kingdom are the Carousel of Progress, the Country Bear Jamboree, which is not my favorite. The bears freak me out, so I can't go in there, but it is air conditioned and it is cool in there, and so you can view a show and relax while you're still technically doing something. The Hall of Presidents is another great one. My dad actually calls it nap time, sponsored by Disney, because it's like 30 minutes long and it's super cool in there. The chairs are pretty comfortable. If you fall asleep though, the cannon blast halfway through will wake you up. Does it to my family every time. But that's also another really great attraction that if you have not seen it, you should definitely see it. I don't think it's open yet. It should be reopened after its refurbishment sometime in late June, but definitely a good one to check out. The Tiki Room is another classic, so if you haven't ever done it, make sure you check it out. It is, once again, indoors, and you can sit down for a little while. Another one that a lot of people probably already do, but is always one of my favorites to do in the middle of the afternoon when it's really hot, is Mickey's PhilharMagic, that 3D screen show with all the singing and everything that goes on. It's in the building, like kind of behind the castle in Fantasyland. If it has a really long line or a really long wait, don't worry about using that as one of your relaxing time kind of attractions. But if it does have a short wait, absolutely go right on in and enjoy a little bit of air conditioning. There's several rides at the Magic Kingdom that are technically slow-moving attractions that would not be considered, you know, high-ticket items. But a lot of them are still very, very popular just because of what they are. You know, things like the Haunted Mansion, Small World, Pirates of the Caribbean. All these are pretty slow-moving, and they're not really thrill rides by any means, but they're very, very popular still. So I wouldn't recommend those as your relaxing rides because you're still going to have to wait in a pretty long queue and things like that. So if you're wanting to just be able to get on something and chill, one of the best ones is the Tomorrowland Transit Authority, the Peoplemover. That's a cult favorite among Disney fanatics because you just sit on it and you ride around. It looks a lot faster than you would think it, or it goes a lot faster than you would think it would. You get to get a good view of Tomorrowland and you can see the castle, get some really great shots there, and you just get a nice little breeze and you get to sit down for like 7 to 10 minutes. It's a nice relaxing attraction if you want to keep doing something but you don't want to have to wait in line. Another good thing to do when you don't want to wait in line is the what's it called? The Walt Disney World Railroad. You can get on it at Frontierland behind Splash Mountain, or at the Main Street Railroad station right at the front of the park, or you can also get on it back behind where the Barnstormer is in the Storybook Circus area of New Fantasyland. So those 3 stops, you can get on it at any one of those 3, and you can stay on it for basically as long as you want. You can just, you know, take a nice loop around the park, and you'll get some narration while you're going, some facts about the park. You'll get to see a lot of different things, and it's just also, you get to sit down for a while. It's about 30 minutes round trip and you get a nice little breeze. You will have to sit if you want to stay on it. You'll have to sit at each station because it does stop and wait for a few minutes for people to get on, and if anyone is going to come, they do wait for a little while. But it's not a long time, and that's always an interesting thing that you may or may not think about doing otherwise. One of my final ideas for the Magic Kingdom as something that you could do to relax is Tom Sawyer's Island. That's right out there in the middle of the Rivers of America in Liberty Square, and you have to take a little raft that you see them steering. You have to take that out there, so it is a little bit time consuming to actually get out there because you do have to stand up on that raft and get out there. But once you get out there, there's a lot of things to do. Especially if you have kids, there's tons of places for them to kind of run around and explore. It's a good way if you want to just let the kids go and kind of get some energy out. Go explore the caves, go shoot the guns, go hang out over there. Mama's gonna sit here on this rocking chair and play checkers. And you can do that. You can just sit there. There's a couple of rocking chairs around. There's lots of benches, lots of places that you can sit in the shade. It's a lot cooler over there than you would think it is because Frontierland and Liberty Square are once again the surface of the sun. So if you are just exhausted from the sun, go over there. Tons of trees, tons of places to sit and hang out. A lot of people actually like to take like picnic lunches over there. Go ahead and take your sandwiches, take your fruit, just pull them out of the backpack, sit down in the shade and eat your lunch over there. There's not ever a ton of people over there. There's a lot more area than you would think. So it's always a good place to just kind of sit and decompress for a little while. If you're over there around time for Festival of Fantasy, you can actually see it if you are bordering that side of the island to where you can see them go through Frontierland. So you can sit there in the shade and have kind of an unobstructed view of Festival of Fantasy if you are interested in that. The next park I'm going to move on to is Epcot. So Epcot actually, surprisingly, as big as it is, does have a lot of things that you can do to relax. Everyone knows the big items at Epcot are Frozen, Soarin', Test Track, Mission Space, all of those things that are going to have really long lines. And yeah, most of the lines are indoors and you are going to get a little air conditioning, but it's a queue. So what are some things that you can do that are not going to have a queue and you're not going to have to wait for a long time to get onto them, and they're kind of relaxing while it's actually happening? You've got a couple of theater shows that you can go into and sit down and enjoy. Impressions de France in the France Pavilion. Yeah, Southern French accent doesn't work real well, sorry. So that one you can sit down and you get it's some of the most beautiful cinematography as far as like the actual images that you see from France. Very, very beautiful. I've added it to my must-dos all the time at Epcot. And one that is not on my must-dos is the American Adventure. It's also a very cool theater. You can sit down, you can chill, but the story is very sad to me. It is about like the American history. You get the Civil War, but it is, you know, it's a great show. And if you are wanting to sit down and enjoy that, if you've never seen it, definitely go check that out. And also the Voices of Liberty in the American Pavilion. You can see them in the rotunda before the show starts. Some great, great singers, so make sure you do check those out too. The main thing that you're going to get to do at Epcot is the slow-moving rides that I mentioned earlier. So there's a lot of them at Epcot that you don't really think about because you're so focused on getting to Soarin' or getting to Mission Space or whatever. But the Living with the Land attraction, you go through greenhouses and you see how they grow the food, and to some people that's super fascinating. To some people it's a nap. So make sure you check that one out. And also the Grand Fiesta Tour with the Three Caballeros in the Mexico Pavilion, another slow-moving boat ride. You get to see a lot of the scenery from Mexico, along with, you know, having our friends Donald, Jose, and Panchito. So you gotta love the Three Caballeros. And the Spaceship Earth attraction, which is once again the giant golf ball when you first come in. So don't ever stop at that. I think I mentioned that in one of my other videos. If you go into that first thing in the morning, a lot of people just stop. They're like, oh my god, you can go in the ball, and they try to ride it. So in the afternoon when it's really, really hot and you want to relax, it's a great place to stop in because not a lot of people are coming in at that time. So you can go on in there and it's just slow moving. It's very cold in there. You can listen to Dame Judi Dench's very calming, soothing voice for like 20 minutes. And one of the longest attractions at Walt Disney World, and one of the ones that people really don't even know exists a lot of times because it's tucked back in a back corner, kind of back behind Mission Space, is Ellen's Energy Adventure. It's over in the Universe of Energy Pavilion. People do not really even know that it's there. It is about 40 minutes, so if you are not willing to spend 40 minutes on a slow-moving attraction, do not go into Ellen's Energy Adventure. However, if you are willing to spend that 40 minutes, you can usually have an entire like ride vehicle seat completely to yourself. You can stretch out a little bit. A lot of people use that one for a nap. You're gonna see Bill Nye, the Science Guy, Alex Trebek, Jamie Lee Curtis, and Ellen DeGeneres all in one attraction. Nowhere else in the world can you see all of those things together. The last suggestion that I have for Epcot is the Seas with Nemo and Friends. And you don't necessarily have to ride the ride, but actually the main thing for me is when you get through with the attraction, there's a giant aquarium, and we could spend a long time in the aquarium because there's so many fish to look at. There's manatees, there's dolphins, there's a ton of stuff in there that you can look at, and you don't actually have to ride the ride to get to that. So if there's a long line for Nemo and you don't really care about the Nemo ride, just go around the back side, ask them where the exit is if you just want to go to the aquarium, and you just go into the exit and you can go in there and explore all of that kind of area. And it's also, once again, air conditioned. You can just sit down and you can watch the fish for as long as you could possibly want to, and it's just really calm and relaxing. For Hollywood Studios, there's not a ton of relaxing things to do there right now. A lot of people say that Hollywood Studios is a half-day park, so in general people probably think that there is not a lot of stuff to do at all, but there's specifically not a lot of things that you can do to cool off. But there are a couple of slow-moving attractions or stage shows that you can go to. Muppet Vision 3D is a show. It's a 3D screen show with the Muppets. It's cute. That's pretty much it though. You have a chair and you have air conditioning, so what more could you want? And then the slow-moving attraction that I'm going to include this, even though it can sometimes have kind of a long wait, the Great Movie Ride. If there is not a long wait, definitely go in there because it's another one that takes a little bit of time, so you can sit down and relax for 20 minutes or so in the air conditioning. But if it's got a long line, that's kind of one of my favorite things to do though at Hollywood Studios to just kind of relax is One Man's Dream. It's a historic walkthrough of Walt Disney's life. So you get to see some of his drawings, and you get to see how he grew up, his desk from when he was in elementary school. You get to see all of how he progressed through his artistic styles and how they got to the animatronics that we have today, and all the models of the different castles and theme parks across the world. It's really a fascinating walkthrough, especially if you are interested in Walt Disney's life or the history of the Walt Disney parks. So if it's something that interests you, definitely take a walk through there. And then there is usually a show at the end. Sometimes it's a story about Walt Disney, a show about Walt Disney, but lately it has been movie trailers for upcoming films, which if you're just wanting to sit down for a few minutes, that's, it's still there. So you can sit down and watch that, but I definitely do recommend checking out One Man's Dream. So on to the fourth and final park in Walt Disney World. And this is actually our favorite park, and the park that most people have the hardest time imagining anything being cool and relaxing in. Animal Kingdom. Everyone says that Animal Kingdom is the hottest park. They always think that it's like 10 or 15 degrees hotter than anywhere else in Florida. And to an extent it's true because it is very humid there and it's very, very, very warm. But there is a ton of shade. Basically nowhere except for in the middle of Dinoland, USA, are you going to find a place where there is absolutely no shade. So we actually really enjoy Animal Kingdom because of that. So we always find that that's one of the parks that we go to when we're tired. If we are having a day that we just kind of want to go slowly and enjoy some off the beaten path kinds of things, that's where we go. So the stage shows there that you can go to are the Festival of the Lion King, which I mentioned before is my absolute favorite show on property, and the Finding Nemo musical attraction, which is also extremely good, and the air conditioning in there is on point. Very, very cold air conditioning in that theater. So make sure that you check out those if you are ready to just sit down and chill out for a little while. And then a couple of the things that you can do that are not rides, all the rides at Animal Kingdom usually have a pretty decent wait. So outside of the shows, the main thing that we like to do is go on the trails. And there is the Discovery Island trails, which is actually the trails that go up, around, and through areas of the Tree of Life, so you can see up close all the carvings of the different animals. That's a really fascinating one, and there's never anyone on the trails for some reason. It's always just a couple of people. So you can kind of have it to yourself, and you can just walk as slow as you want to and take a lot of pictures and relax up in the shade of the Tree of Life. That's always really nice. And you can also go on the Pangani Forest Exploration Trail or the Maharaja Jungle Trek. May not be saying those right, they may have other names, but Maharaja and Pangani trails that are in the separate parts, the Africa and Asia parts of Animal Kingdom, where you can walk through and see all the live animals. That is one of our absolute favorite things to do on Disney property, is go on those trails, because you can go through and see all the animals, but you can also talk to people who work with those animals. There's always going to be a cast member standing around at the different areas telling you about those animals, telling you about their habitats, willing to talk to you about anything. We actually stood on our honeymoon, we stood over by the meerkats and we talked to Mercy. Shout out to Mercy. If anyone knows Mercy from Claremont, Florida, she was awesome. She was the best cast member we've ever encountered. We talked to her for like an hour at the meerkats, and she told us everything that we could possibly want to know about the meerkats. She talked about the zebras that were off in the background. She told us about all the different kinds of zebras. So make sure that you are always talking to those cast members, because you can just get so much information and so much enjoyment. That was one of the highlights of our honeymoon trip, was talking to Mercy at the meerkats. So go through, see the gorillas, ask them about the gorillas, talk about the tigers, ask them about all of the animals that you're going to see, and just be able to relax in the shaded areas and enjoy some beautiful wildlife. One more thing that we like to do when it's hot outside and we don't really want to just be in the parks, or if we don't want to be doing anything super stressful, is we like to resort hop. So you can park at TTC, the Transportation and Ticket Center, the parking lot for Magic Kingdom. You can park there and you can get on the resort monorail and you can go around to the Grand Floridian, the Polynesian, and the Contemporary resorts. And you can just kind of go around those hotels and you can see what they have. You can eat there, you can walk around, you can do some shopping, and just kind of enjoy what those hotels have to offer in all those resort areas. You cannot go in the pools unless you are staying on the resort, and you can't obviously go into any of the room areas. But just being able to see the different atmospheres and the different styles that all these resorts have is always a really, really fun option. Plus, you can get a Dole Whip with vanilla swirl. The pineapple vanilla swirl is the best Dole Whip. You can get that at the Pineapple Lanai at the Polynesian, so 10 out of 10 do recommend. Another great resort hopping opportunity is over at the Epcot resorts. So if you go out International Gateway, the path between the UK and the France pavilions, and you go back there, then you can go to the boardwalk, the yacht and beach clubs, and you can go and explore all of those areas. You can head over to Beaches and Cream, get some ice cream. You can go and you can just sit out by the water on the boardwalk. You can rent Surrey bikes. There's so many opportunities over there in that area. So if you just want to spend a day resort hopping and seeing what all the different resorts have to offer, that's always a really great option to just kind of chill, stay relaxed, stay cool, and enjoy what Disney has to offer that you may not otherwise get to see. So that's it for this week. That is some of my suggestions for where you can go to kind of cool off or just relax while you're in Walt Disney World without having to actually stop and go back to your resort or go to a restaurant and just sit. Obviously, those are great options if you do want to go and just completely decompress and take a nap at home. Obviously, feel free to do that. We do that quite often. But if you do feel like you want to keep going and do something, but you just are running a little low on energy, maybe pick out a couple of these options and check them out. If you have any suggestions, things that you like to do to cool off or relax at Disney, let me know down below, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, y'all.